Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Rukmini, Jaya Satyabhama, Krishna Rukmini, Jaya Satyabhama. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवेदिकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON संस्थापक आचार्य विश्वगुरु सेवर ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text number 32. Ete Shriti Te Nrpa Vedagite. Ete Shriti Te Nrpa Vedagite. Tvaya Abhiprishte Cha Sanatane Cha. त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्ट भगवान् वासुदेवः आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः। एते श्रुतीते नृपवेदगीते त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्ट आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः। एते श्रुतीते नृपवेदगीते त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्टे ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्ट आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः।
एते श्रुतीते नृपवेदगीते
एते श्रुतीते नृपवेदगीते
त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च
त्वया विपृष्टे च सनातने च
ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्ट
ये वै पुरा ब्रह्मण आहतुष्ट
आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः
आराधितो भगवान् वासुदेवः।
Ete Shriti Te Nripaveda Gite
Ete Shruti Te Nripaveda Gite
Tvaya Viprishte Cha Sanatane Cha
Tvaya Viprishte Cha Sanatane Cha
Evai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta
Evai Pura Brahmana Ahatushta
Aradito Bhagavan Vasudevaha
Aradito Bhagavan Vasudevaha. Ete, all that is described. Shruti, Ve, Te, unto you. Nripa, O Maharaj Parikshit. Veda Gite, according to the version of the Vedas. Tvaya, by your majesty. Abhiprashte, being properly inquired. Cha, also. Sanatane, in the matter of eternal truth. Cha, verily. Ye, which. Vai, certainly. Pura, before. Brahmane, unto Lord Brahma. Aha, said. Tushtaha, being satisfied. Araditaha, being worshipped. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Vasudevaha, Lord Krishna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Your Majesty, Maharaj Parikshit, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The two different ways of reaching the spiritual sky and thereby getting emancipation from all material bondage, namely either the direct process of reaching the kingdom of God or the gradual process through the other higher planets of the universe, are set forth exactly according to the version of the Vedas. The Vedic versions in this connection are Yada sarve pramuchyante kama ye asya hridi shritaha athamartyo amrito bhavati atra brahma samashnute Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, and Te Archir Abhisambhavanti, those who are free from all material desires, which are the diseases of the heart, are able to conquer death and enter the kingdom of God through the Archi planets. These Vedic versions corroborate the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the latter is further confirmed by Shukadeva Goswami, who affirms that the truth was disclosed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna Vasudeva, to Brahma, the first authority on the Vedas. The disciplic succession holds that the Vedas were uttered by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, by Brahma to Narada, and by Narada to Vyasadeva, and then by Vyasadeva to Shukadeva Goswami, and so on. So there is no difference between the versions of all of the authorities. The truth is eternal, and as such there cannot be any new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. It is not a thing to be understood by one's erudite scholarship or by the fashionable interpretations of modern scholars. There is nothing to be added and nothing to be subtracted, because the truth is the truth. One has to accept, after all, some authority. The modern scientists are also authorities for the common man for some scientific truths. The common man follows the version of the scientist. This means that the common man follows the authority. The Vedic knowledge is also received in that way. The common man cannot argue about what is beyond the sky or beyond the universe. He must accept the versions of the Vedas as they are understood by the authorized disciplic succession. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same process of understanding the Gita is stated in the 4th chapter. If one does not follow the authoritative version of the Acharyas, he will vainly search after the truth mentioned in the Vedas. Please repeat this translation. Your Majesty, Maharaj Parikshit, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakayat Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami, after having described so many things to Parikshit Maharaj in the previous verses, now Shukadeva Goswami is putting a stamp of authority on whatever he has described, so that Parikshit Maharaj need not have any doubt as to what is all this, whether it is authoritative or not authoritative. So that stamp of authority Shukadeva Goswami is putting by saying that all that I have described to you is not my imagination. It is according to version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. So in this way, Parikshit Maharaj, or for that matter Shukadeva Goswami, is trying to convince Parikshit Maharaj, have full faith in whatever I have told. It is not something of my imagination. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the truth is eternal, and as such there cannot be any new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. So in the human society generally, there are people who are searching after the truth. Everybody can search after the truth in the human form of life. Everybody has got that potential and capacity to search after the truth. But because most people are strongly driven by their desires for gross and subtle sense gratification, therefore that desire and inquiry for truth does not actually take place in the hearts of most people. Otherwise, potentially, in the human form of life, everybody has the capacity to inquire about the truth, know about the truth, and describe about the truth. It has nothing to do with one's intellectual ability. It is all connected with how much a person is free from worldly desires. So because most people are covered by desires to enjoy gross and subtle sense gratification in the world, in the body, in this world, generally that inquiry for truth is not there. But nevertheless, there are some people who are relatively free from desire for gross and subtle sense gratification, or they have had enough of all this. So in the minds of such people, there is always inquiry about truth. What is truth? So this is a very philosophical subject matter, the moment you talk about truth and what is truth and all such things. So different people have different opinions on what is truth. You ask any common person, can you define what is truth? He will say, what I see is truth. Somebody is little more philosophically inclined, he may give some other version. For me, truth is this, truth is that. Mahatma Gandhi said, truth is God. That was his opinion. In all Mahatma Gandhi's statements, books, you will find, truth is God. So different people, different thinkers, different philosophers have different opinions on what is truth. But which opinion do we take? How do we know what is truth? How do we get the proper definition of what is truth? So Krishna himself defines what is truth in the Bhagavad Gita. There is no need to go to any other philosopher. Krishna is the greatest in everything, and Krishna is the greatest philosopher also. Nobody can philosophize better than the Lord. That is why Krishna says in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, anything you see wonderful, that is Mama Tejo Amsha Sambhavan. So even a very great philosophical mind, like Socrates or Plato or Voltaire, all great philosophical minds in the past. Even in the Vedic culture, Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, all great sages are there, Jaimini, they have put forward different philosophical treatises. All these things are Mama Tejo Amsha Sambhavan, a spark of Krishna's philosophical brilliance. So, in every aspect, the Lord is supreme. So, when it comes to putting forward philosophy also, nobody can beat the Lord. So, Krishna defines what is truth in the Bhagavad Gita. In the second chapter, Krishna says, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtvantas tva anayos tattvadarshibhihi. This comes in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, there Krishna says, that which has no beginning and no end, that is truth. And that which has a beginning and end is not truth. That's all. In 2 lines, Krishna establishes truth and what is not truth. And Krishna has given us a very clear formula, how to judge whether something is truth or not truth. So if you remember this verse of the Lord, then we will never be in confusion. How do we judge and decide whether something is truth or not truth? So very clear definition by the Lord. Something has a beginning and end. That means something comes and goes. That is not truth. That is not truth. Something does not come and go. It never began. It will never end. That alone is truth. This is the version of the Lord, and of course, the Lord's version is perfect. So this is how Krishna defines the truth in the Bhagavad Gita. So somebody may say, okay, this is a very philosophical statement. How do we know, or how do we practically bring this into our day-to-day lives? Because most people may not be able to comprehend or make sense out of this statement. That is because for most people in this world, all that matters is a good life from birth to death. That's all most people desire. Even people who are religious, people who are little spiritually inclined, or they go to some spiritual organization, most people are concerned about what? They are concerned about the body. And the upkeep of the body and a good life from birth to death. I take birth, I grow up, I must have sufficient money, I must have nice relationships, and I must have good health till the time of death. And I become very old. I become very, very old. I have sufficiently enjoyed my life. Then, of course, I will pass away one day. That people also know. So that's why when you tell people death and all, they say, we also know there is death. One day we are going to die. But I don't want to die young. I want to enjoy this world nicely, enjoy the body nicely. And when I become sufficiently old, yes, I have to die. So most people are bothered only about existence from this body to beginning of the body to end of the body. That is reality for most people. So even when people, or for that matter, we take up some kind of religious activity, some spiritual activity, some meditation or some yoga, it is more or less about securing one's life very nicely from birth to death. So people's awareness generally does not go beyond that. That is the way the material world is, especially in Kali Yuga. So, among so many such people, those who are strict followers of the Vedas, they are little more elevated. Why they are little more elevated? If somebody is properly trained in the Vedic culture, according to Varnashrama Dharma, then the result is he becomes very conscious of Papa Karma and Punya Karma. His every action, every decision, every step in life is guided by this. Whether this action which I am going to do, it will result in future Punya Karma or future Papa Karma. If it is going to result in future Papa Karma, then I should be very careful. Why? Because I will have to suffer the consequences of that. Such a fine discrimination exists among the people who strictly follow Vedic culture. So that is the benefit of being trained up in a proper Varnashrama system. A person who is properly trained up where there is proper Varnashrama Dharma the result is that person becomes very conscious of this subtle, fine law in this material world. That there is punya, there is papa. Punya leads to enjoyment, papa leads to suffering, and I have to be very, very, very careful about both. So such a person is very concerned, and naturally, such a person will not be just concerned about a good life from birth to death. That is the modern ignorance. That is the ignorance in Kali Yuga because of excessive stress on this gross body and bodily concept of life. Result of that is, from childhood, everybody is trained like that. The result of that is people are concerned only from birth to death. But previously, formerly, even before the British education system set in, children were naturally trained, the general mass of people were naturally trained to be very conscious of punya karma and papa karma. Carefully avoid any sinful activity, and if somebody has performed some sinful activity, then go and perform some parihara, ensure that those sinful activities are all counteracted, and please perform more punya. So naturally, people are little above the bodily concept of life. That means they are aware. The training in Varnashrama Dharma naturally raises their consciousness to such a level that they are aware, very much aware, that I have had a previous body and I will have a future body. I was born before and I will be born again. People are thoroughly convinced of this. And therefore, I should be very careful about what actions I am performing now. Because if I am not conscious or careful about what sort of actions I am performing now, in the future life, these actions will come and haunt me. That will create suffering in my life. That kind of a very strong training is there. So this is considered civilized life. Anything below this is not civilized. It is all uncivilized. So it is practically not to be considered as human civilization. Human civilization means this consciousness, being very conscious of the Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So human civilization means this level of awareness that I am not this body, I have had a previous life, I will have a future life, and there are activities which I performed in the past. Because of that, I am enjoying and suffering now, and there are activities which I am performing now, and because of that, I will enjoy or suffer in the future. This is the consciousness of the people who are properly trained in Varnashrama Dharma. Such persons are generally trapped by of ignorance. What is that ignorance? That ignorance of getting caught in papa karma and punya karma. People are trapped. Even today you see, there are many, many pious people in this world. Even now, in this age of Kali, they are very careful not to perform sinful activity, not to offend others, not to create some disturbance for others. They may not necessarily be devotees of Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, reading Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, but they are very conscious about pious, always performing pious activity and are avoiding sinful activity. Why? Because they know that all this will lead to future enjoyment or suffering. So this is another set of people who are conscious of this, and such people, they are trapped by punya karma and papa karma. Why they are trapped by punya karma and papa karma? Despite knowing that this subtle law exists, there is papa karma, there is punya karma. If I perform punya, I will enjoy. If I perform sinful activity, I will suffer. Then what is the problem? The problem is the desire to enjoy is still very, very strong and deep-rooted. So because the desire to enjoy this world in a pious way is very prominent in such people. They are pious people. They know that you cannot offend other living entities. They know that you cannot create trouble for other living entities. You have to be very careful. If you are not careful, you will suffer. So what happens to such people? They are very much attached to enjoying this material world in a pious way. Always trying to avoid all kinds of sinful activities and trying to perform pious activities so that their quota or bank account of punya keeps increasing. There is sufficient credit or currency of punya by which they can continue to enjoy. The problem with such people is, this is considered civilized life according to Vedic culture. One must be very conscious of this subtle law. If one is not conscious, one is completely ignorant of this finer law of punya and papa, then simply one is inviting trouble for oneself, which is the present day modern civilization. Simply people are unnecessarily inviting trouble for themselves by recklessly performing activities, not concerned about the reactions of such activities, and simply creating trouble for themselves. But the pious people who want to enjoy this material world in a pious way, the problem is it is close to impossible to perform only pious activity and escape papa karma in this world. It is close to impossible. Nobody can lead a life like that. Nobody can say within the material world that I have performed only pious activities. I don't have a tinge of sin in my account. Nobody can see. Even the living entities in the upper planetary systems cannot say. So you see how very nicely the Lord has designed this creation. This creation has been designed in such a way by the Lord that if one wants perfect happiness, you have to come to pure devotional service. There is no other choice. It is a one-way traffic, it is. There is no other option. If somebody does not endeavor for pure devotional service, he has to be trapped either in the laws of punya and papa, and sometimes enjoy, sometimes suffer. And when he will enjoy, when he will suffer, he doesn't know. Because when he has performed punya karma, when he has performed papa karma, he himself doesn't know. And if somebody says, this being very conscious of punya karma and papa karma and all is simply a botheration, forget all these things. After all, after death, everything is finished. Enjoy and die. Then one further falls down into ignorance, which is the modern civilization. So, only these two categories exist. Among the people who want to enjoy this world, they are classified only into two. One who don't care for any papa and punya, recklessly enjoy, do whatever you want. And after death, everything is finished. Then if that is the way person starts leading his life, then it creates a hellish situation for himself and for everybody. A little more advanced is the people, who are trained in the varnashrama dharma to be very conscious of punya karma, be very conscious of papa karma, and enjoy only in a pious way. That itself is one level of dharma. One level of dharma is to enjoy this material world in a pious way. That means the Vedas are saying, Vedas are giving direction to the general mass of people. All right, you want to enjoy this material world, perfect, no problem. These are the do's and don'ts. Perform punya karma, avoid papa karma, the result will be this. This is one way of bringing the people to Vedic path. Just like we go out and when we have to bring somebody to Krishna consciousness, we use so many innovative ways. We give a pass, we say this program is there, that program is there, this festival is there, that festival is there, this is there, that is there. Somehow to bring the people to chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's why Prabhupada said in one place, cook first class prasadam and feed the people. Not that Hare Krishna Mantra is there, everybody will come. Why? Because these are all necessary things in Kali Yuga to bring people, they will not come. Similarly, the Vedic literatures also, the Vedas also, they recognize that people have a desire to enjoy. Because all the living entities are coming out of the 84 lakh species of life and coming into the human form of life, people have desire to enjoy. So the Vedas give direction. All right, you want to enjoy, perform punya karma, avoid papa karma. So those who are strict followers of the Vedas, very, very strict, meticulous, fastidious, they respect the laws of the Vedas very strictly. They actually follow varnashrama dharma very carefully, and they carefully avoid all sinful activities and then perform only punya. In this way, they can enjoy in this world. Prabhupada mentions in one place in the Bhagavatam purport that if somebody performs the duties of a Brahmana according to the Vedas for 100 births, imagine 100 births, not a single mistake as a Brahmana, then he takes birth as Brahma. This is how the path of punya is. Very, very, very meticulous. Gradually you have to accumulate punya. One birth, next birth, next birth. 33rd birth, 35th birth, 75th birth, 85th birth, 95th birth, 100 births. This all calculation is there. This is all mathematics. Everything is kept account, currency. So 100 births, if somebody performs the duties of a Brahmana according to Vedic civilization, Vedic rules and regulations strictly, then he is promoted as Brahma. That means by the time he is become very, very conscious of that. But we see, even if one achieves that position, becomes Brahma or becomes Indra, they are all very pious people. Anybody in Swargaloka himself is very pious. Unless he has pious credit, he cannot go to Swargaloka. And Devendra, the king of heaven, is even more pious, because he is the king of all the Swargaloka Vasis. He is very pious. And Brahma is even more pious. So they have carefully avoided sinful activity. If there is a tinge of sinful activity, immediately be pulled down. It's like a snakes and ladders game. We know how we have played in our childhood. Snakes and ladders. Ladder takes you up, and then you have to be very careful. You touch a snake, snake pulls you down immediately. So you may go to the 99th step, one step before winning the game. And there, if you are in the snakes and ladder game, if you touch a snake, straight you are back to square one. Again, you have to climb the tough path of the ladder. So this is the very meticulous and difficult path of the Vedic Dharma, or Hindu Dharma, or Varnashrama Dharma, the path of Punya and Papa. So even personalities like Indra and Brahma, they become bewildered by this illusory energy of the Lord, and they sometimes commit sinful activities. Like we find Indra. Indra is sitting in heaven. He has performed all the Punya Karma. He has earned his Punya, and he is sitting in Swargaloka, and he is enjoying very nicely. The Apsaras are dancing. All the different living entities in Swarga are coming and offering him in respect. Suddenly Brihaspati comes, and Indra forgets to offer respect. For a moment there is a mistake on behalf of Indra. He forgets to get up and offer respect to his spiritual master. And Brihaspati understands Indra has become too puffed up. He has forgotten by whose blessings he has got all this. Indra has forgotten this. And Brihaspati, being a Brahmana, he does not mind. He simply walks away from the assembly. That's all. It takes a moment for Indra to realize what he has done. And Indra runs behind Brihaspati to find out Brihaspati. Brihaspati has become invisible now. He cannot find Brihaspati. That's all. Result of that disrespect is immediately his kingdom is gone. The Asuras become powerful and Indra loses his kingdom. This is all mentioned in Bhagavatam. Why? Just to caution us. The way of Papa and Punya is like this. Any moment anybody can commit a mistake. Any moment anybody can commit a mistake. Mistake means like snakes and ladders, straight down, back to square one. Again one has to earn his punya. Again one has to earn his punya. Similarly, Indra, Dharma of the Vedas, very strictly, somewhere it is mentioned, whether I am accurately quoting or not, I don't know. 108 Ashwamedha Yajnas if you perform, you become Indra. This is the calculation. To perform one Ashwamedha Yajna itself is very difficult. You must have tons and tons of ghee. There have to be qualified Brahmanas. Then you have to let out a horse. The horse will go everywhere. And anywhere the horse is checked, you have to send your army behind that, protect the horse, do all that. Then successfully, if you can complete one Ashwamedha Yajna, it's a very big thing. It is like, successfully taking up one construction project in Chennai and then successfully completing it. By the time you get the permission and approvals and everything and build the whole building, it's a big thing. Similarly, Yajna is a one project. It's a very big project. Like that, somebody completes 108 Ashwamedha Yajnas, 108 projects. He is a top project manager, he is. Everything he has managed so efficiently. Then he becomes Devendra. Then you become Devendra, you get all the delights of the Swargaloka. You can enjoy very nicely, honor, respect. All the living entities in the Bhuloka will worship you. That is why Krishna wanted to stop that in Vrindavan. All the people were offering yajna, Krishna says, stop this, I will teach Indra a lesson. So you can imagine how the living entities in the Swarga, in the Bhuloka, they all worship him, they glorify him. There are hymns mentioned in the Vedas glorifying Indra in Rig Veda. So that level one becomes very, very powerful. But one is not freed from the tendency to commit sin. One is not freed from the tendency to commit sin. So Indra, suddenly his mind becomes bewildered. He runs behind the wife of Gautama, Ahalya. You have seen in Ramayana. He becomes captivated by Ahalya. And then he takes the form of Gautama. He performs that action which he is not supposed to perform. And Gautama Rishi comes back. He curses him, curses Ahalya also. Indra is in trouble. All his hard work of performing punya karma and elevating himself up to the Swargaloka is all now in trouble. Why? He has done some adharma. He has performed that which is not supposed to be performed. No, it is not that Indra is not aware of what is dharma. This is very basic dharma, that Ahalya is another man's wife. We are not supposed to run behind them. Matravat paradareshu. There is a very first education. Another man's wife is mother. Indra knows that. But still, the tendency to commit mistake and commit papa karma is always there. Is always there. And the result of that is, one is immediately brought down. You cannot hold that position any longer. You have to go through parihara. Like that, we will find in Bhagavatam, there are so many places where Indra falls into trouble. Indra gets into trouble. Even Brahma gets into trouble. Of course, our Brahma is a pure devotee, Chaturmukha Brahma. But the post of Brahma, the living entity who is occupying the position of Brahma, there are examples of Brahma also making a mistake. We find in Bhagavatam, Brahma runs behind his own daughter. It's mentioned in Bhagavatam. Of course, it is referring to Brahma as a post. Which Brahma it was, in which kalpa, we do not know. This particular Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, is a pure devotee of the Lord. He is coming in parampara. But there are many Brahmas, there are many kalpas. Which Brahma it is being referred to, we don't know. But the person who has performed punya karma for 100 births as a Brahmana, see, very carefully avoiding all sinful activities and sitting on the position of Brahma, how much conscious he will be of dharma. That is how Brahma has become Brahma. Even at that time, a tendency to commit sin is still there. He commits sin, immediately he falls down. That's all. He has violated law of dharma. That's why this whole business of avoiding papa karma and performing punya karma and trying to enjoy this material world in a pious way is a futile attempt. It's a futile attempt. Although that is required to bring the living entity to completely give up sinful activities. Otherwise, the living entity will be completely lost. So therefore, such recommendations are there in the Vedas. But this is not the supreme dharma. This is not the eternal truth. The eternal truth is when one understands that both papa karma and punya karma are simply waste of time. Why it is waste of time? Because the tendency to commit sin is not rooted out. This is the problem. The biggest problem with the living entity in the material world is he may be pious, he may be leading a good life, but his tendency to commit sin is not rooted out. Tendency to commit sin is there. And because he has got the tendency to commit sin, any moment he can commit a mistake and any moment he can be into trouble. That is what is discussed in the Bhagavatam at the end of the 5th canto Bhagavatam, where different kinds of pariharas is mentioned by Shukadev Goswami for different kinds of sinful activities. So Parikshit Maharaj inquires that this is all like Hasti Snana. It is like an elephant taking bath. Elephant goes to the lake, takes bath, comes out, again puts mud onto its head. So what is the use? So somebody may perform a lot of punya, become very pious, very religious, very nice person in this world, but tendency to commit sin is always there. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj asks, what kind of dharma is this? Simply performing sin and washing away those sin. You go to Kumbh Mela, you go to different places, but the living entity is continuing to maintain the tendency to commit sin. because he is continuing to the tendency to commit sin. Any moment he is in danger. Any moment his mind can get deviated and he can perform some sinful activity and he will suffer. So what is the use of all this? Please give something by which his tendency to commit sinful activity is completely rooted out. And that is when the Ajamila Upakhyana is narrated by Shukadeva Goswami. He says, I will tell you about Ajamila, who was a great Brahmana, who had followed the rules and regulations of Brahmana Dharma very carefully. He was worshipping Shalagram Shila at home. He was very mild-mannered. He never even spoke in a raised voice to his elders. So respectful he was. So nicely well-behaved he was. He was performing Shalagram Puja at home. Everything was nice. One day he went out in search of firewood. And then he saw a woman and some drunkard embracing each other, and this is what happened, and he completely fell down. So that is how the Ajamila Upakhyana is mentioned. So the Ajamila pastime is very, 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 very important in Bhagavatam actually. In one sense you can say it is the crux of the Bhagavatam. Because this pastime of Ajamila describes how unless and until the tendency to commit sin is completely rooted out, nobody is safe in the material world. Not even Brahma, not even Indra, not even the great rishis. Even they know dharma very carefully. They know the intricacies of dharma. But unless and until somebody is freed from the tendency to commit sin, person is not at all safe. However pious he may be priest in a temple, he may be a very learned scholar, maybe a very great sannyasi, whatever he may be. But as long as the tendency to commit sin is there, person is in danger. Danger of falling down, committing some sinful activity, and then moment there is sinful activity, immediately there is suffering. Then he will lose all the social position. Because of performing a lot of pious activity, person may have a very elevated position in the society. People may adore him, people may respect him, people may glorify him. But the moment he performs some sinful activity, all that social position is taken away. He cannot continue to enjoy that social position, whatever he has. So therefore, unless and until somebody is completely freed from the tendency to commit all kinds of sinful activity, one is not considered to be safe in the material world. One is not considered to be safe. That is why Krishna says, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. This material energy is Duratyaya. Unless somebody surrenders to me, he is not safe. So that is why Prabhupada, he gives the example of Haridas Thakur. That Haridas Thakur, he was not a great yogi like Vishwamitra, or he is not one of the residents of the Swargaloka or anything like that. But he was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly. And when he was approached by a young woman for enjoyment, Haridas Thakur had sufficient power to say no to that because of his pure devotional service, because of his offenseless chanting. So Prabhupada glorifies Haridas Thakur and glorifies the position of a pure devotee, that only a pure devotee of the Lord is free from the tendency to commit sin. Because the Lord gives a pure devotee immunity from getting attracted to the sense objects of this world. The Lord protects a pure devotee from getting attracted to the sense objects of the world. So for a pure devotee, all the attractive objects of this world do not appear attractive. By the special mercy of the Lord, sense objects do not appear attractive. Only the transcendental name, form, qualities and activities of the Lord appear attractive to him. So that is a special blessing given by the Lord to his pure devotee. Everybody else, those who are not on the standard of pure devotional service, any moment they can get attracted to sense objects. Any moment their mind can get deviated from dharma by getting attracted to sense objects. And moment one gets attracted to sense objects, one can pursue that enjoyment in a dharmic way, in adharmic way. If he performs in a dharmic way, he is safe. He is safe. There is no sin there. If you try to enjoy in a pious way, according to the rule of dharma, there is no sin. But because the tendency to get addicted to that enjoyment is there, he wants more and more and more of that enjoyment, then any moment person can throw all the rules of dharma in the dustbin and start enjoying in an adharmic way. That is what happened to Ajamila. He was enjoying this material world in that sense, in a pious way, as per the laws set by the Supreme Lord. That is not adharma. He had his legally married wife, he had children, he had a home, he was performing all the duties of dharma. But the tendency to enjoy, tendency to maximize one's gross and subtle sense gratification is so deep-rooted. Suddenly it manifests in the heart. Then one kicks out all rules of dharma and goes behind the path of adharma. We find that in the life of Bilvamangal Thakur also. So therefore, this material world is designed and created by the Lord in such a way that one has no other option but to come to the standard of pure devotional service. So therefore, if anybody is endeavoring for anything other than pure devotional service, even within the Sankirtana movement, then such a person, mind can get deviated from the path of dharma. If Brahma and Indra, who are so elevated persons, both in terms of position, power, administrative ability and other things, if their mind can get deviated, then what to speak of other living entities of this world. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the topmost scripture because Bhagavatam is presenting pure devotional service. So it is not that pure devotional service is only for some very select people and other people can continue to follow the regular dharma and somehow escape. It is not like that. Pure devotional service is a must. Everyone has to come to the standard of pure devotional service. If somebody does not come to the standard of pure devotional service, any moment he can perform sinful activity in the material world. Any moment he can perform. There is no guarantee. And the moment he performs sinful activity, there is suffering. Immediately there is suffering, there are so many other troubles, and then one gets into so many different kinds of difficulties. So therefore, only a person who is situated in pure devotional service, he can understand the truth. Because pure devotional service has no beginning and no end. That alone has no beginning and no end. Anything else other than pure devotional service, it will produce a reaction. That reaction may be pious or impious. Anything other than pure devotional service will create a subtle body and it will create a gross body. Only pure devotional service will not create another subtle body and another gross body. And any subtle body and any gross body has got a beginning and end. And one gets trapped in that, then he is lost. Lost in the sense, there may be some awareness of the Supreme Lord Vishnu also, like in the case of Ajamila. He is worshipping the Shalagram Shila. He knows Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. He knows I am a devotee of the Supreme Lord, I must perform devotional service. But still, a tendency to commit sin is not completely purified. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as the topmost scripture because Bhagavatam explains what is truth. Truth which has no beginning and no end. And if somebody has to realize the truth that is mentioned in Bhagavatam, he must endeavor for pure devotional service and come to the state of pure devotional service. Otherwise, so-called Veda Dharma also, people can get lost in Papa and Punya and anytime commit any sinful activity and then fall into trouble. So that is what we learn from today's verse. So we will stop with this. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.